Hello everybody, my name is Benjamin Bloom. We are back once again for another championship live stream. Make yourself known over in the chat if you're here. If anyone's in the chat as well, let me know it's all working. I'll try and get in the middle of this shot for once. We have now had our second game week in the championship, so things starting to pan out. Give us an idea of which teams are going where. We've got 2 teams on the full 6 points, 3 teams on 0 points. We've got transfer deadline done, so now we go next week into a 3-game week, and then the chaos really kind of starts off, doesn't it? So game week 2, and at the top, 2 wins out of 2, no manager until about 2 days before the season. No money spent in the transfer window. Sheffield Wednesday, top of the league. Of course they are. And it was Sheffield Wednesday 2, Barnsley 0 at Hillsborough. So Lee Bullen has a 100% record now as Sheffield Wednesday manager. Remember, he came in ahead of Steve Bruce when Bruce delayed his appointment at Sheffield Wednesday. So more experienced in that actual space than Bruce was himself. So fairly easy transition through for Bullen, and a great start. Beat Reading last week. They've beaten Barnsley, who I think impressed everybody on their opening game by beating Fulham. Within 2 minutes, new loanee Jacob Murphy slides one in with the right foot to give Wednesday the lead. Stephen Fletcher in the second half for Sheffield Wednesday. Barnsley were on top on the XG, so looks like Wednesday stronger in the finishing department, stronger in the game management department to keep their 100% record up at the top there. We will see how they go going forward. Certainly a brilliant start for Sheffield Wednesday. Some might say Reading and Barnsley, are they easy opponents to begin? Who knows? Managed it without Banham, says Little Crow in the chat. Yeah, had an interesting bench, and Lucas Shaw out now. So very interested to see where this team goes. So Wednesday top, Barnsley into 15th spot there on 3 points. Wednesday on 6. Yeah, Couch Surfer says Rhodes, no Rhodes. Someone look up on Infogol or something the Wednesday bench, all those experienced players. So maybe Bullen will build himself a new team. Interesting about Michael Hector. That seemed to be what the Wednesday fans wanted to be done with the Lucas Shaw money, but that looks like Fulham all over. Thomas says 10 years without a win at Sheffield Wednesday. Talk to me about that when you see Ipswich's record against Norwich. Yeah, same. Actually, 10 years as well, isn't it? So I can't cry too much, Thomas. Right, second place, newly promoted Charlton Athletic. So really surprise top 2. The only 2 teams with 6 points on the board. Stoke lose again. So newly promoted Charlton. Big spend in Stoke. Of course it goes this way. According again to the stats, and I know the stats don't mean a lot, Stoke should have won this game. The XG well in their favour. Charlton's finishing evidently way better than Stoke's. And I think at the start of the season, you often get these situations whereby the more drilled team kind of quickly will get one over on the team that isn't necessarily as well put together. Stoke manager needs some results, says John. Yes, he does, but if the underlying metrics stay the same, in theory, they start winning. So they're doing something right, but no results coming at all yet. The much discussed Lyle Taylor, who seemed to be linked with anybody who needed a striker on deadline day, he gets the opener, so that's 2 for me, but right through Butland's hands. Butland probably the highest valued goalkeeper in terms of transfer fees in the division. Bit of a Route 1 masterpiece for Tom Ince with the equaliser rather. Smashes that one home left-footed. Stoke hit the crossbar and the post before half time. This is what I mean about the underlying stats and the finishing. Everything going right in goal, in front of goal for Charlton, seemed very, very decisive. Anike and then Gallagher with a set play show the Stoke guys really how to finish. Brilliant start for Lee Bowyer. If he now gets a draw and another win, he's going to be very close to manager of the month unless Lee Bullen wins every single game. Stoke fans, it's one of those ones where is the glass half full or is it half empty? If you look at the metrics and say if you do that over 10 games, you're probably going to start winning fairly quickly. The flip side of that is, well, you're kind of playing fairly well and not winning, which is never good. Martin says, thought Butland was going to Villa, England career on hold, and Villa took Heaton, who had a very good debut from what I saw there. Hip to Game says Butland's head somewhere else. Transfer window shut, so he can only go abroad now. We can come and play for Ipswich in League One, but Stoke can keep paying the wages there. Going to be very interesting to see what happens. I must say, having seen Luton play, which is Nathan Jones' last team, I can see what the upside would be now if he gets Stoke going. But as John said in the comments, he needs to get this done soon, and 0 points doesn't look good. Charlton in second, Stoke second bottom, no good. Paul wants me to talk about the Birmingham midfield. We'll get onto them in just a minute. We'll talk about Millwall as well. David, I've got Leeds first, thank you, PR, and then we're on to Millwall. Leeds 1, Forest 1, early game on Sky. Leeds so impressive last week. I was wondering whether Leeds would now go off and score, 25 points in the first 9 games or something crazy like that. But they dropped points here. Leeds unchanged. Lamouchi, we wondered whether the new keeper would be in. He sticks with Muric in goal. New players, Ahoy on the bench for Forest. Leeds, as per usual, dominant in possession. Hernandez getting in that inside right channel gives them the lead again. Rittik, if I pronounced your name right, sorry if I haven't, smash and grab by Forest, he says. Graben, certainly a bit of a muggy goal there. Graben kind of hits his chest and he barely touches it with his foot and it sneaks in the corner. If you're a very, very negative Leeds fan, you would say the downfall at the end of last season was loads of possession, loads of chances. Bamford misses a couple. He hit the bar, didn't he, and had the lob just wide, and you concede a soft goal. So let's hope that's not going to start happening again this season because they were so good at Bristol City. Forest, well, I think over certainly the next 3 games in the 3-game week, we're going to start to see Lamouchi's team. Robin says Leeds need a 20-plus goal striker. I still think if Bamford plays 40 games, he'll get the 20 goals. But Robin just comes back. Bamford is not the man. Little Crow says Amiobi looked great when he came on. Amiobi's weird, isn't he? He can look brilliant 1 minute and terrible the next minute. Let's hope he settles down. Forest. So Leeds settle into 3rd spot. Forest into 20th. Barker says, same old, Ben. We created more chances to win that game comfortably. Well, that goes into Robin's comment about the striker. And if I pronounce his name right, Nkita on the bench, on loan from Arsenal, the roof replacement. We'll see if he gets to go, particularly in a 3-game week. You're not going to see many players play all 270 minutes next week, put it that way. So some fringe players getting a chance next week. Leeds 3rd, Forest 20th. On we go to QPR. Someone caught me out last week saying the KPF Stadium. It's not Loftus Road anymore. It's the KPF Stadium. Now QPR 1, Huddersfield 1. Huddersfield get off the mark. I saw them last week play against Derby. Rangers on 4 points, so good start by them. Huddersfield win their 2nd penalty already this season. Kachunga goes down. Grant stick that one in, so he's probably one of Hernandez scored in both games, didn't he? Grant scored in both games as well. Hall, nice header in, angles that in from a set play for 1-1. Rangers 4 points off the first 2 games. Well, 2 points per game. You know, I always say that's the holy grail. Extrapolate that over the season. You are going up with 92 points. And if you think about it, Rangers have played Stoke and Huddersfield. That's two parachute teams, and we know Rangers have got zero money and have spent zero money. It's all been loans and free transfers. So impressive stuff from Warburton, who I thought, I'll be honest, was going to take a few months to get things going there. Good start by him. Huddersfield take their first point. They need to acclimatise fairly quickly. We'll see how they go. Can go one of two ways with Huddersfield, isn't it? We shall see. So Rangers 4th, Huddersfield down in 19th. Remember, this is really going to shake out over that next week. Chris says QPR changed the name of the stadium to a lad who was stabbed to death. Goodness me, nice touch by QPR. Agreed. John says Huddersfield looked a mid-table side. Hip to game, QPR comfortably mid-table in place of Blackburn in my prediction table. Yeah, I'm going to park my prediction table until about 10 games to go and, yeah, not embarrass myself, I think. West Brom 1, Millwall 1. West Brom, huge splurge of players coming in for Slaven Bilic on deadline day. A lot of these managers were more sensible than I thought they were going to be, to be honest. Not anyone really chucked a load of new players in, so it's almost like they know more about managing a football team than me. Robin says, so impressed with Millwall. They have made a good start, Millwall, and they come from behind to hold the baggies. 27% possession, that's classic Millwall though, wasn't it? Big Matt Smith came on and changed the game, says Daniel. David says Smith made a huge impact. Millwall going with Ben Thompson behind Tom Bradshaw up front, and if I'm right, it was O'Brien and Smith last week. So it looks like finally Neil Harris might actually have some depth and be able to try things out. John says Matt Smith, the perfect player from Millwall. Zach says, don't know how we got 8 million for Zahor. He's dreadful. I think he started for West Brom in this one. GB Land says, we don't need possession. Teams can play around the back all they want. Could this be the Millwall of 2 years, says Robin. I'm sure all the Millwall fans. He's rebuilt this nicely. Looks very, very good. Little Crow says new signing McCarthy will be in over Romeo, so that'll be a right back next week. Pierce with an own goal here. And then Millwall, the absolute masters of set plays. Look at this season. When you're looking at Millwall goals as well, look at the amount of times an initial set play gets cleared. They're actually the masters of recycling the second phase of a set play. They score a lot of goals from the second phase of a set play, and they do so here. Matt Smith, who'd come off the bench, he swipes that knock back in. And yes, whoever said it in the comments, Matt Smith, perfect player there. They needed someone to replace Steve Morrison, but remember, Steve Morrison was not just a big brawny bloke. He's actually a pretty clever player who set the tone for that team. So a big loss as his legs kind of capitulated last season, I think. Both teams on 4 points. Bilic needs to put their new signings in and integrate. And Millwall, I like the look of their options in a very good start by Wall. West Brom in 5th, Millwall in 7th. You stop the league there. Both clubs would probably take that, wouldn't they? Playoff place for West Brom and 7th for Millwall. Derby 0, Swansea 0. Derby share the points with Swansea. 2 new managers here. The old adage, take a point, probably somewhere true. Derby totally clinical on week 1 with Tom Lawrence absolutely on fire in that game, as Huddersfield should have won this one, looking at my stats researching this game. And Martin Waghorn, one of my favourites, with that trusty left foot of his, missing a first half penalty. Robin says, not often Swansea have less of the ball, indeed. And I think that would have probably been a very possession-heavy game. Both sides have 4 points. Good starts, nonetheless, for Steve Cooper and Philip Koku. Derby 6th, Swansea 9th. On we go to Birmingham. Everyone wants me to talk about this Blues midfield. Oh, Ewan says, Waghorn missed so many chances. That is disappointing to hear, Ewan. Who are the other striking options there for Derby? I suppose Jack Marriott's sat there in the background with his pace running in behind. I guess Waghorn gives you an all-round better game, but if he continues to miss chances, he will pay the price and probably be out of the team. Any of these Blues fans in the feed want to tell me who lined up across this midfield that they're all raving about? That would be great. All square at St Andrews. So Blues 4 points. Bristol City get off the mark. All change for Bristol City. 3 at the back. In comes Pereira. Nagy comes in central midfield. So Villalba, Crowley and Sunjic, says Nick. Did Sunjic start, Blues fans? Completely new midfield and some real flamboyant foreigners in there, especially Sunjic, who we all have very high expectations for here. Afobe also starts for Bristol City. Tommy Rowe makes his debut. Jutkovic bullies right at the back post for the opener to give Blues the lead. Rowe gets the equaliser, and if any of you think everyone's on about Fran Villalba, says Chris. So yeah, really interesting. I don't know when I'm going to first see Blues. Actually, maybe I'll rejig my calendar to try and see them if all of these midfielders are going to float my boat. We all know I like a good midfielder, don't I? Blues looking good, says John. If they had Sturridge, that's a game changer. I'm sure it would be. Blues had a shocker against Pompey in the Cup. 9 changes though. GB Land says, when am I at Millwall? Do you know, I'm not sure. I'll be at the Millwall away game at Luton, but that's not until October. Anyone who was at the game, tell me, from the highlights I saw, Casey Palmer looked excellent and looks like he could be a bit of a difference maker in a 10 position or an advanced 8, even if it's not a 10 for Bristol City. From the highlights I saw, 3 key passes and should have had 3 assists, really. Yeah, John says Palmer was very good. It's about time for him. He should become a star. I don't know what happened at Blackburn last year. Maybe Bradley Dack was just in the way of his progress there. But looking forward to seeing Villalba, Sunjic, and look out for Palmer at Bristol City. I think he's going to rack up some numbers, particularly in the key passes this season for them. Although Afobe needs to start tucking those chances away, doesn't he? John says defence looks an issue for Bristol. That's probably why they've gone to a 3, isn't it? Blues in 7th with their sexy midfield. Bristol City in 21st. Lee Johnson's got a job to integrate. No Pack, no Webster, no Kelly now. He's lost a few good players there, so good luck to him and that. Blacklisted Pigeon, Blues look better than I expected. Martin says Crowley is a steal at 6.50. Neil says, what do I think of Jacob Murphy? Help me out. Jacob Murphy is the one, he's not Josh, he's the one that's gone on loan to Wednesday, right? They're both really good and they both play really similar positions. I just get so confused. Who was the one who was on loan at West Brom last year? Someone help me out in the feed. Be interesting to see because one of them got a lovely assist in the Cardiff game that we will come to talk about. In fact, if I look down at my notes, Josh Murphy. So Jacob Murphy's the one at Wednesday. Blacklisted Pigeon says, I was at the game. Murphy and Harris were on fire. So there you go. It's probably a better view than mine because he was actually there. But yeah, Murphy twins, I know all about them. Saw one of them score at Carrow Road against Ipswich as well. Norwich got really good money. Norwich always get good money for their players, don't they? There you go. I don't want to lament that. Preston 3, Wigan 0. Comfortable win here for Preston. Both sides falling into the cliches about their home and away form from last season. Preston very good at home. Wigan very rubbish away. 2 pretty settled lineups in this, which I do like to see. I always kind of value these 2-year plans that I always talk about. Preston, excellent finishing, though, the difference in this one. Maguire heads in from a corner. You can say poor defending, I guess. Malt heads in Johnson's left wing cross. And what a goal by Paul Gallagher. Ludicrous free kick here. Just taps it ahead to Daniel Johnson, puts his foot on it, and he absolutely spanks it in. Let's say it was probably wind assisted, given how windy it was across the UK on Saturday. But Gallagher, he's never really played at a higher level than this. Technically, he's a very good player, Paul Gallagher. So, yeah, interesting why he's never got too much on that. Where was it? Blackburn, I guess. Both teams on 1 home win and 1 away defeat as we go forward. They will need to, you can kind of see both teams' flaws from last season carried over. So they're going to want to keep that. Preston's so adept at Championship football, says Robin. Yeah, they are. And at home, they will roll you over, won't they, with their intensity. Preston 10th. Wigan 16th. What price is that to be actually where they both finish? That doesn't sound too unlikely, does it? Fulham 2, Blackburn 0. I was there, so you can check out I have just witnessed in that one. Fulham really struggling with their pattern of play, playing out from the back. Blackburn kind of getting the tactics right to stop that, and it was only Tom Kearney spanking one in with his left foot from 30 yards. Bit of individual quality that put them ahead at half time. Second half, Blackburn huffing and puffing. They throw on Brereton, Downing and Graham. Fulham break away for a second one with Mitrovic. Tough one for Scott Parker with the pattern of play, and Fulham purely getting through on star power. It's that classic dilemma now for Parker. Is he pragmatic and plays it cautiously, or does he see it through and maybe they ease into the division a bit slower? That said, that's exactly what they did when they got promoted last time. And even someone like Villa last season, Villa didn't really get going until the new year, did they? Robin says Blackburn need a win. God, do they need a win. Bottom of the league, Blackburn. And this always worries me. John says, surprised by Blackburn, thought they would do quite well, looked very average. He says he doesn't rate the manager. As an Ipswich fan, I can't have anything bad said about Tony Mowbray, but then I can't see the wood for the trees on that one. I'm very biased. My worry for Blackburn, and I always say this, when a team executes their plan pretty well and still loses and doesn't score, loses 2-0, that kind of is a good thing because they executed the plan, but it's kind of a very bad thing because it didn't work very well. And you could say they lost to star power of Fulham, but they did lose to Charlton last week, who are newly promoted and have had like 3 of their best players picked off. So Blackburn need to sort this out. They don't want to go on a really bad first 10 game run, like Preston did last year. It needs a hell of a run to even get anything out of the season, even mid-table. Too many eggs in the Gallagher basket for Blackburn, John says. A lot of money spent on Gallagher. Big presence up front, needs goals, needs service as well, needs crosses, and to be able to play within the width of the penalty box, doesn't he? Fulham 11th, look out for them. Blackburn 24th. Cardiff 2, Luton 1 in South Wales. Warnock gets his first win with a very, very late goal from deadline day debutant Isaac Vassell. Marlon Pack also, as you'd expect, he's championship ready, straight into the team, straight into the centre midfield with Joe Rules in there for Cardiff. Cardiff looked more at it. Robin says Luton can be proud of their performance. Zach says Pack and Flint were the best players. Interesting. This looked more like the Cardiff we saw get promoted last time. Looked really dangerous on the set plays. Morrison heads one against the bar. And how many times are we going to see this season? This was Josh Murphy, not Jacob Murphy. Swings in a beautiful free kick. And now you've got Flint and Morrison running in on these. And Flint sticks in his first goal for Cardiff. He'll probably score, well, definitely over 5, you would think, if he plays 40 of the 46 games. But Luton get the equaliser in this one, 86th minute. Hell of a leap by Pearson from the corner to blast the header in. Warnock would have liked that one, I tell you. But the old master does it again, doesn't he? Warnock brings in Vassell, 91 minutes, and he heads in Hoylett's cross in the 96th minute there. Blacklisted Pigeon pointing out the Murphys will come up against one another this season. Vassell, what a great debut by him. I always say this, Warnock always has, look back right through his career, he always has 5 strikers at least, and just likes to throw them in and out and keep them all motivated and keep them all playing for him. He's an absolute master at doing this. Cardiff get the win, and you're going to see them pick up a lot of wins like that this season, I would have thought. Cardiff 12th, Luton 17th, and I will be at Cardiff at the end of the month for Cardiff versus Fulham. Looking forward to that. John says Blues would have liked to keep Vassell, but too much money to say. Now, what was the fee, John? Because that one came through as undisclosed. Be interested to know that. 2 more to go, guys. 4 million. Okay, that is good money. Fair dues. John, how did Che Adams get on for Southampton as well? Right, Hull 2, Reading 1. So both sides lost on the opening day. Hull survived deadline day with Bowen and Grzycki. If transfer marked were right, both have a year to go on their contract, but there's an option for Hull to put another year on Bowen. So Bowen should then be nailed on to be sold next summer because they'll only have 1 year left. I assume there's a pay rise in that last year option for Bowen, and from his work over the past 18 months, he deserves it, frankly. Reading start with Lucas Zhao. Boye and Pele all in. Big money, Puskas on the bench. And like so many games last season, we saw this so many times with Hull. You turn on the highlights and it would be Bowen and Grzycki just first 20 minutes just tearing teams a new one, and go figure. 6 minutes, Grzycki down the left, inside. It must have been Yidam if it was a right back, wasn't it? Bowen sweeps it home. Not really that high on this Reading goalkeeper, Virginia. I know they brought in another one, Raphael, possibly. I'm maybe getting mixed up here, but I suspect he'll be in sooner rather than later. On 16 minutes, Bowen, he just shows his quality, doesn't he? Superb. Down the left, cuts inside. Brilliant cross. So hard to defend, especially when Irvine's making the John Walk last man run. Heads that one in. Robin says Reading bottom 6. Yao grabs a consolation goal, 65. So he looks in good nick. Lucas Yao scored against Reading for Wednesday last week. We know how inconsistent he could be. I'm sure that will annoy Wednesday fans if he goes to Reading and becomes very consistent all of a sudden. Puskas, the new guy, does hit the bar towards the end. You just have to think with those wide players there, that should pretty much guarantee Hull finish not in the bottom 6, shouldn't it? If Grzycki and Bowen stay fit all season, to real quality. Yao will score lots if he settles in properly. Yeah, interesting. We shall see. Borough 0, Brentford 1. Tough start for Woodgate here. Draw at Luton and a defeat at home to Brentford. First win for Brentford, who have got just to basically bed in half a new team, haven't they? So he's got a bit of a job, Thomas Frank. From the summer, Martin, Pinnock, Janssen and Jensen all starting. That's a good question. Chris just asked about Ollie Watkins replacing Neil Mopa. I'll come to that in just a second. Yearwood, Valencia, Muembo on the bench. You can see the switch from Pulis ball. Borough record more possession than Brentford. That would have been like 65-35 last season under the previous manager, wouldn't it? But Brentford create the one really high percentage chance in this one. The big red blob on my XG app, and Ollie Watkins takes it. Brilliant assist by Kanyos, who flips it over the first man, comes in, nicks it around the second man, and Watkins can't miss. I think Chris asked, do I think that Watkins can replace Mopai? Possibly. It would take him to really get into that kind of striker headset and headspace rather, and not judge himself as a wide player anymore. Technically, he's very good, and we know Brentford's must be a dream to play up front for the amount of chances they create and the amount of penalty box kind of touches you get when you're a striker. Remains to be seen, but if that is going to be the case, then Frank needs to say to Watkins now, you're my guy, you're playing up front all the way through till Christmas. I did look, they have brought in some exotically Eastern European named striker, so I'm sure knowing Brentford's model, he'll be really good, and the next Mopai comes in. The elephant in the room is Ben Rama. Ben Rama was not sold. I know Mopai, Konza, Sawyers all went, so Ben Rama stays in there. You know, he's likely to be the next huge sale, and looks like Brentford have just gone up a grade in their ins and outs money now. They're now bringing in players for 5 million as opposed for 2 million and selling them for 12 to 20 million, aren't they? So you'd expect Ben Rama to be the next guy to go for huge money. Borough, 1 point from 2 games. Interesting. Difficult start and a loss at home there. Brentford 14th, Borough 18th. I will do some questions now. There's some in the YouTube feed. If you've got any topics you want discussed, I'll just clear these 4 from here, and then we'll do some questions from the YouTube feed. Stephen Allen, thoughts on Borough dominating Brentford in the first half but not getting the result we wanted? I suppose it's encouraging. It's going to take time for the start. There's going to be easier games. Brentford is always a hard one to play against. They can pick you off. So yeah, I've got my fingers crossed for Woodgate, but a hard season without the parachute money there. Hip to the game. Have Sheffield Wednesday been overlooked as promotion playoff contenders? Well, absolutely they have, because no one thought that they would. It's only 2 games. Let's throw all the caveats at them here. It's only 2 games. They've played Barnsley, who were in League One, and Reading, who were in the bottom 6. But they have 6 points. Bullen, looks like he knows the place. Looks like they've got some pace in there with Harris coming in and Murphy. Still got a few old war horses in there, a lot of experience. You probably haven't seen the last of Forestieri and Rhodes and the like. So, God, who's the guy from QPR? Luongo as well to come in. So yeah, we'll see if Wednesday have still got 2 points per game after 10 games, then yeah, let's start to take them seriously. Blacklisted Pigeon says, God, I hope it's our season. John says, we played Norwich first game last season. Yeah, don't talk to me about Norwich's meteoric rise last season. Yeah, no one saw that coming. Yeah, David says Bolton were top 7 after 5 matches. And that's, we do get this. There's normally 7 or 8 teams on 2 points per game up until about the 10-game mark. Teams accumulate quickly before it settles. Just takes a couple of wins and you're up there, aren't you? Animation Station, I think that Bobby Reid will regret moving to Fulham. Won't get enough game time due to their excellent front 3. Do you agree or disagree with me on that? That's a very interesting point. They've got Cavaliero, Knockaert and Mitrovic, which if Scott Parker sticks with a 4-3-3, then no, Reid will not get much game time. It will be a bench option, although he might be able to usurp Cavaliero. Definitely not Knockaert, though. He'll play very, very regularly. But what Reid needs to do is make himself an option as a number 10 in a 4-2-3-1, or as a big man, little man with Mitrovic, if Parker does blink and change his system. But yeah, I did wonder that when Reid signed, how would he fit? Leather Sandals asks, where do you rate the Championship against other leagues in Europe in terms of quality? Well, quality is often not high. There was 3 really excellent teams last year: Norwich, Leeds, Sheffield United. Villa were excellent for half a season, weren't they? So quality not always there, but he also says excitement, well, 100%, and difficulty, yeah, the massive, massive slog, like the Grand National jumping over those 2-metre fences. Right, anybody has any questions here? Robin says, how was the atmosphere at Fulham with the missing stand? Yeah, interesting, bit weird. I mean, Fulham's always got a kind of friendly atmosphere, hasn't it? But always weird with a standout. Where do I think Wednesday will finish? Neil says, I reckon we will finish 12th. Obviously, a Wednesday fan. You would think the second quartile, wouldn't you? 7th to 12th. But let's see how they start. You know, momentum's everything. Where do I think Forest will finish? Says Luke. God, top half for sure. Got a lot of quality, Forest, when you actually look through it. I just don't know enough about Lamouchi to say how he's going to do this. Whatever they do, Marianakis does not want to fire Lamouchi after January the 10th when he seems to fire everybody. What can Rooney add to Derby? Well, hell of a load of money in terms of merchandise and stuff. Will Fulham cope against low block defences? I think they'll prefer to play low block than high press, put it that way. It was the 3 across the front blocking those out there. God, there was a couple of good questions. Sorry, the feed goes by so quickly. Just repeat the questions if you did put them in. If not, we will wrap up and say goodbye. And I will say thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Luke says we've got to hope Graben stays fit. He thinks they're in trouble. Interesting. I think Forest just needs to make a plan and stick to it. Where was I at the weekend? I was at Fulham, John. First look at Fulham and Blackburn. So that's good though, because it means I've seen 8 of the 24 Championship teams play. I must say to you, David says, you'd be pleased to know Bart played well for us. Great, really pleased to hear that. Chunk Park Rangers says Charlton to stay up. Looks like it, doesn't it? Looks like they're carrying momentum and it looks like they can score goals. So, I think Charlton looking good at the moment, but we do see teams start well and drop off a cliff. They did add well in midfield in the deadline day, didn't they? I'm going to go on holiday on Thursday, but I will still be doing the preview. Zia asks about that. Going on Thursday, so I will try and record something to go out maybe on Thursday night. I'll premiere it and try and be in the comments in the evening. I'll still do the reviews. It depends on the Wi-Fi whether there's streams but I'll still get it done. Robin says, do I think Sunderland and Borough will swap divisions? No, I think Borough will be okay. I think people like House and Asomba Longa, some good young players there, I don't think are going to get relegated. Angelo says, where am I off to? Cassis in the south of France, Angelo. Bringing back any duty-free here, get your requests in. Well, they only allowed 2 bags on the Eurostar, so we will see about that. Follow me on Twitter if anyone in the feed has not, at Benjamin Bloom. Have to give the plug to Patreon. John says Wing looks a good player. Carries the ball well in that central midfield. You know, you just worry about all these players getting blunted last year under Pulis, don't you? Quick plug for the Patreon. If you enjoy what I do, it'll always be free on YouTube, but it's the equivalent of buying me a pint. If you do enjoy what I do, then 15 people have already done. So it'd be great if I could get a few more on the Patreon. That would be fab. Richard says Villalba for Birmingham looks incredible. Is Villalba going to be the new Buendia this season? The player nobody had heard of at the start of the season, who turns out to be one of the top 5. Looks exciting for him and exciting for Blues. I'd be interested to see how the style changes. Doesn't it? Could have quality young players. Could be surprise package. Well, we know Eze's good and Bright Asai Samuel. So let's see what Mr. Warburton does with those. Right, I'm going to stop the feed now, guys. I'll probably do a bit of a roundup of the League Cup stuff, but I won't do that live. So I will see you guys hopefully. Jonathan's just asking. Yeah, I will try and do the League Cup review as I'm off work. And I'll try and get preview up, and then we'll see what the Wi-Fi is like for a live stream on Sunday in sunny France. So thank you all for watching. Bear with me. I'll try and keep everyone updated about the content. Won't be at a game though until August 24th. I'll be at Derby, West Brom. So check that out. Thank you everybody for watching as usual. Thank you everybody wishing me a good time on holiday. Who do I want, Leeds or Salford? I guess it'd be Leeds reserve, so Salford will probably win, won't they? As I always say, I now know about Villalba rather than Sunic because of the people at the game helping me out in the chat. People say that I've got good knowledge. It all comes from people feeding me in the feed. So I thank you guys because the quality of the analysis and the channel really is a lot down to these live streams and getting that immediate feedback, and it's such a great bunch of people who come here regularly. So I am really, really grateful without sounding too breaking my arm to slap ourselves on the back. There we go. Right, thanks everybody for watching. I'll do a bit of a League Cup roundup and I'll then see you hopefully in France. That'd be nice, won't it? Okay, bye-bye everybody.